right. How you doing, my man? You doing good?
Doing good. One practice in the books, and a lot more to go.
Hot. Wasn't too hot. Wasn't that
No,
bad.
no, not at all. Yeah, and we're sitting in the shade there. Yeah, I mean you were there with us. Yeah, we have some
I know,
shades,
but you got
some
it.
cloud coverage too.
Winfield taught me this a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
Travis Wingfield, by the way, and you should listen to his podcast and follow Travis. If you don't, you're a fool. He does a great job. Great young man too. On top of all of that,
Oh,
he gave me the nugget years ago when he goes, "No, you got to sit on the top row because that
yeah. Oh,
you
yeah.
get the breeze. The lower you sit, you don't get any breeze, bro. It is so as long as you're sitting up top, you're getting that. You're getting some flow. Even though we no longer have flow around, we still have the other kind of flow, which is the good.
That's a good one.
Bad flow, we got the good flow now. You know what I'm saying? So
You get
that's
the airflow. I didn't know that was his reasoning. That I thought it was because of the sight line, because you get a good vantage point of the whole practice, and he wants to see it all. But there is that benefit too, of course.
I'm sure there's a little bit of both for Travis because he's got that binocs, so he's going to be able to see everything and all that. But he nailed it. He nailed it. He go, no, you got to sit up on the top row because the air. And sure enough, dude, a couple of years ago, I was like, bro, you're a god. Thank you, bro. Thank you. 'Cause that helps. That helps a lot.
He figured out the new facility very quickly because it's only been for 3 years. So I know at the old one, and I mean, I only got onto the beat once that transition happened, but the old one, the press row was up top, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like keeping
Yeah.
it consistent with how it was previously. And then
Basically,
go up top.
basically. All right. So let me, I got to have a little fun with my media brethren here because, I find it funny with Jordan Poyer's comments that the Dolphins would fold, and I'm not sure if you know this, but you know that's been going on for 40 years, right?
Right. Yeah, I haven't been alive for all those 40s, but I know the history. Yeah.
This happened before Jordan Poyer was born.
Right.
I'm just like, because I'm not understanding where we're all making it like, do you remember like the Fiedler teams punching people in the mouth all the time or something? Do you remember any of the Marino teams punching people in the mouth all of a sudden? And the last time they were physical was like in the really, truly physical was like, I would have to go with Woodstock
Okay.
because they
I would
had
go back to 70s, but yeah.
no, that was like the tail end of being tough was Woodstock. Why? Dude, you couldn't score much. You better be tough running the ball. You better be tough at stopping you. So you had the killer bees. That was the peak of the killer bees. By the time Danny got there and a couple years after and got to the Super Bowl, the killer bees were done and they were cooked and it was a shell of what they used to be at that point. You know what I'm saying? They weren't really that good anymore at that point. So it wasn't nearly, but maybe that was kind of the end of it. It's been 40 years that everybody knows they can't win on the West Coast. They don't win in cold games. They get dominated physically more often than not. All these things that everybody's been talking about has been going on forever, bro. It's not a McDaniel thing. It's not a Tua thing. It's a Miami Dolphin thing for 4 decades, dude.
And this is why it's great to get that opposing player's perspective in Jordan Poyer coming over from Buffalo, a team that has had all that success against the Dolphins, because he just gave us the real of what they were saying in their locker room and what has led to the success that the Bills have is that, okay, you punch them in the mouth and they'll fold. And then sure enough, clearly that was successful for them because it worked. Was it 13 of the last 15?
You weren't around for Dolphins Bills in the early 90s, but every one of us that are Dolphin fans, we sat there and we knew that the Bills were way more physical than the Dolphins. We knew that in the physical department, we had no chance to hang with the Bills. What we were hoping for is that the finesse part, the speed, the arm of Marino, the receivers, all that would be the equalizer to all of that. But we knew we couldn't stay in the ring, right in the middle of the ring, and slug it out with the Bills because we would die. Just like John Riggins did to us, years ago when, we couldn't stop John Riggins and he just kept running and running and running, just like Thurman Thomas ran on us for 300 yards. Same thing. It's just hilarious to me. And it just seems to me like sometimes some people in the media either have no perspective or just they're caught in prisoners of the moment thing, and then they're painting it that way when it's something that's been an organizational problem for many generations now.
Yeah, or short-term memory, losing the long-term memory of all those past experiences.
Oh, I haven't forgotten it.
But clearly you haven't. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it has been something that's been around the franchise for so long, and why the Dolphins haven't returned to that prominence. I mean, among a lot of reasons, but there's a lot of things you can point to. But yeah, I mean, that's probably prime among them is not being to that caliber of, well, first of physicality. And I think what Poyer's point more so was the mental toughness more so. So yeah, I mean, there's both sides of that. So, but I think on the mental side of it as well is that he was saying like that. Well, all right. So week 4, the Dolphins lose that one 48-20. It starts off where it's touchdown Bills, touchdown Dolphins, touchdown Bills, touchdown Dolphins. They're staying with them. Now there's a drive where the Bills score, but the Dolphins don't. Now all of a sudden it starts to snowball after that. You end up with a 48-20 loss in that one. Then week 18, Dolphins have a lead early in the fourth quarter, and then how did they smack them in the mouth? It was the mental aspect of, they just returned a punt on us, and now it's a tie game. Here we go again. All these things going through the Dolphins' head, right? You imagine. And then for the Bills, they feel now we got the momentum, and we know we always beat these guys. So there was a mental edge, I feel, when it came to that.
Yeah, no, I mean, on the physical side, dude, that's just something that Listen, up until McDaniel here, and Flo, every time you would play the Ravens, playing the Ravens. Oh shit, we're playing the Ravens. Oh shit, we're playing the Ravens, because the Ravens would kick your ass every time. They'd beat you down, and then Tua he's won 2 of the last 3 trips against the Ravens. That's unheard of. That's unheard of for us to beat the Ravens. It was just a constant ass kicking and embarrassment with the Ravens from the second they became an expansion team, or not expansion, they moved over or whatever, right?
From Cleveland, yeah.
From the time they became the Ravens and they had the new image with Ray Lewis and all, they would hand us our asses every single time that I would watch that game. And so that's why, to me, I find it funny that we kind of paint it like that when, it's kind of been going on forever. And Mike McDaniel and company are trying to erase something that has gone on forever. It's like Pat Riley coming in and changing the entire culture. You know what I'm saying? Even though the Heat barely was existing at that time, it was only around for a few years. So I really didn't have a long history of being bad.
There wasn't an identity yet.
Yeah. But the identity of soft and mediocre and average and all that's been our identity for forever, bro. It's just weird like that. All right. Now, have you ever been fishing?
Yeah.
Okay. So you throw your line in, right? And if you're fishing, you'll feel nibbles, but not to pull yet, right? You got to wait where you think you've got them hooked, and then you try to bring in the fish, correct?
Right. Yeah. Set the hook too. My brother's a good fisherman, right? So once you got it tight, then you got to set the hook so that you give it a little nudge so it gets in there.
Right, but there's sometimes that you feel nibble and you put, and it's too early.
And then it's gone. Yeah.
Okay, so Okay, so sometimes you get a nibble and you wonder, do I have anything here yet? So let me run something by you, since we're going to talk about physicality and all this kind of stuff. You have a new defensive coordinator. This is your first day of practice. Holland goes all out in some play on the second play and ends up getting flipped over by Malik Washington. And then later on, the aforementioned Jordan Poyer, who talked about physicality, lays a lick on Waddle too, and I'm like, and I turned to OJ and I said, I wonder, too early to say, but I'm just saying, could there be a little message from Weaver here? Hey, let's go, guys. We need to be dogs all the time. The mentality, this, that, and these guys come out jacked, and we have a couple collisions that you really shouldn't have, by the way, on the first day with no pads or whatever. But again, just a nibble. I don't know if we have anything. Well, let's find out tomorrow when we go to practice, and then the next day, and then on Sunday, I would imagine is pads day. I would imagine will be the first day for pads, that kind of, or maybe Friday's the first day for pads. I'm not sure, but either way, from here on out, let's see what the effect of the Weaver thing is. And these two incidents, are they outliers, or do we start seeing some tendencies with these guys?
Yeah, I would venture to believe that is something Anthony Weaver does want to instill in this team. Now, whether there's a correlation between those two instances themselves in the Javon Holland collision, Jordan Poyer colliding with Jalen Waddle, I'm not sure. Maybe that's just guys getting amped up, guys doing what they would normally do in a situation where a receiver's being thrown into the safety, and then got to remind themselves and recalibrate themselves into remembering, okay, you pull back, you hold off in those cases in practice, where it would be more ideal not to have the physicality there and lead to injuries.
Please don't go lighting up Jalen Waddle for me, man.
Yeah, especially him. All right, yeah, and Malik Washington too. He's just trying to catch the ball, but then Javon Holland flips over him. So you can't fault Malik Washington. He's just running his route and catching the ball and getting run into a safety with the route and pass. But so maybe not this instance is where you need to see it, but maybe just some small nuggets, some hints of that this will be the mentality that this defense is coming after opponents.
Yeah, no, it would be good. Now, the Holland thing, look, I don't take any word of any player. It's nice that Jalen, oh, no, he'll be fine. They all say the same bullshit. I am concerned a little bit about Holland because he did have the 2 knee injuries, and then now he got banged up, and he couldn't finish practice today. So I'm hoping everything's all right with him, man.
Yeah. So we'll have to be checking back on that as practices progress and monitor his status. So it did seem after that play, then he was trying to get back in there, and then afterwards went back to the side and was getting looked at by trainers. A lot of stretching, a lot of like stomping on it to test it, sort of thing. So we'll definitely have to monitor Holland's status now going forward. So unfortunate that you have something already to watch injury wise. Of course, as you already have players are rehabbing like Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, and now Odell Beckham Jr. has to work his way from the PUP, as well as David Long. Now we learned yesterday. So. So you don't want them to pile up too much. Of course, Jalen Ramsey was the second practice last year, so you don't want that type of just injury stacking to persist. Teron Armstead, though, keeping him off the field early. Good. Let's find a good balance. Let him get his rest. Make sure he's healthy for the season, as healthy as he can be.
It's late July. You're practicing with no pads.
Yeah.
Bro, I don't need to see anything from Teron Armstead. I'm fine with that. It's not a concern. All right, so what stood out to you today? What'd you like?
Yeah, so Tua, great 7-on-7 rapport, especially with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. So I think for the most part, you saw him pretty surgical, operating with his usual accuracy and anticipation. Some of those sideline comebacks that he threw to Tyreek Hill he threw it before the break even happened. And you just see the chemistry there. Obviously, he did have the one pass that was tipped by Saran Neal, and then Zeke Vandenberg ends up with a pick. So Saran Neal was one of the highlights to me. He had that play, and he had an interception later. And Jordan Poyer had an interception on back-to-back plays against Mike White, so the 2 former Bills DBs. So speaking to that mentality, I guess, they had interceptions on Mike White. And Brandon Peely actually had a big nose tackle, had a would-be sack, it seemed, but they allowed the play to continue, and it resulted in an interception. So a lot of highlights there, and then some things that need to be worked out. Malik Washington, along with being in on that play that hurt Javon Holland, he had a drop. Um, I saw undrafted tight end Hayden Rucci had a drop and another bobble. Not he's a roster long shot, but just another thing I noticed. And a fumbled snap exchange. Jack Driscoll at center, snap exchange that so that there's a little telltale of where someone started off camp position wise, even though we're not really supposed to be talking about it too much, but there's only one player that's snapping the ball. It's the center. So Jack Driscoll was there, and there was a fumbled snap with was it who was it? Skyler on that one? I have to look back at my notes.
Yes, it was Skyler.
Yeah,
it was Skyler. Yeah. The Hardison kid had a terrible day today.
Yeah, he had a rough one. Yeah. He threw into deep triple coverage. Marcus May dropped the interception. But, I mean, there was no chance that ball was getting completed.
He was the Oprah of quarterbacks. You get an interception, and you get an interception, and you get an interception today. Back to the Tua thing, wrap it up here. One of the things that I talked about with the audience today is, hey, man, it's cool. You can handle things however you want, right? I don't think this is just today, and we'll see what happens. But if Tua wants to limit his 11-on-11s and starts limiting his practices, he's under contract. He's paid to play this year. So if he has any squabbles, you're better off actually taking the reps and being as sharp as possible and make sure you make them pay even more next year. You know what I'm saying? So you can handle it however you want. But if, again, this is just a nibble today, we don't know how it's going to be carried on from here on out. But if you continue on a pace where you are going to you're not going to take certain reps and team reps and 11-on-11s and those kind of things, then when the season rolls around and you're not as sharp and you're making mistakes because you didn't take the reps you were supposed to, well, that's what you're paid to do. So, to me, he's the one that has everything to gain and everything to lose on it. Meanwhile, the team has all the leverage. He's the one that's going to take all the heat for not playing well. If he doesn't play well, if they lose, he's going to take the heat, all of those kind of things. So it'll be interesting to see. Right now, it doesn't matter much, but as the training camp goes on, it'll be something to watch to see how he does it, because I think it could set him back a little bit, not being as sharp as he needs to be. And you don't want to use the season to try to then get sharp. That's not a good idea. So I'm just wondering what you think about that.
Oh, no, yeah, you don't want it to linger that deep through into camp and then toward the start of the season. So what we called it on this show, thinking that might be the disruption that he goes for, is the 11-on-11 lack of participation in those drills like he did OTA's minicamp. Mike McDaniel then did tell us that it would be similar to those drills, and then actually we did see him in 11-on-11 taking some snaps under center, but only for handoff, so only in on the run plays, not making any throws in 11-on-11 work. So still did look good in 7-on-7, but end of the day, yeah, and as Mike McDaniel called it, it'll be a day-to-day fluid thing. So maybe a few practices in, if he feels he's made enough of the disruption that he needs to get whatever he wants, or just make enough of that impact, leave that lasting memory with the Dolphins front office, then maybe he goes ahead and says, all right, I'm focusing on the season, similar to a 1 point with Christian Wilkins last year. But the two sides still seem to be still a little bit distant, where now it's being talked about that Jordan Love and the Packers are closer to a deal, and we know Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars passed Tua and the Dolphins in progress and eventually got his deal done. So this will be a constant thing, it seems, throughout camp.
All right, what do you got going on the Sentinel so folks can check you out?
Yeah, all the Tua updates from today on his participation, and Mike McDaniel's comments on updates on Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb's timelines, Odell Beckham, his reaction to Shaq Barrett, and also I wrote a feature on Jalen Ramsey. So now he's about a year removed from that scary knee injury from the second practice of last training camp. So now he can take it to another level now, especially in this new defense. So we had a great interview with him, and wrote about that today.
All right. Follow him on Twitter at @DavidFuronis_, and make sure you subscribe to the South Florida Sun Sentinel. David, as always, thank you, my brother. Appreciate you. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You got it. There you go. Bankruptcy, condo damage, criminal defense, commercial litigation, personal injury. Call my friends, Jeff Welt and Daniel Rheaume. They know how to get it done. Trust me. Many of our listeners know that they know how to get it done. Not just me now. Now it's lots of our listeners are calling 954-966-4646.